folks, good morning. Paul Bates here, and today we're going to talk about what it costs to actually maintain one of these 40-year-old trawlers, because I don't want there to be any misconception. Probably won't get a lot of hits on this video because nobody wants the truth, but we'll tell it to you whether you want to listen to it or not. Next week I'm going to talk about the 3 most essential items that you really need, especially if you want to go do a liveaboard, because being a liveaboard or just being a regular weekend boater, or just somebody that owns a boat and takes it out once every couple of months or during the summer, completely different boating. On this channel here, we really concentrate on the liveaboards because, as you guys know, I've been living aboard now for about 3 years. And so today I really want to talk about the maintenance. I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 different boats. Actually, let's just talk about 4 different boats, but mostly my trawler right here, because I know what it costs to maintain it and keep it going throughout the year. The numbers may shock some of you, and some of you it may not. I've also been doing a lot of talking lately with a bunch of different people on different trawlers and stuff like that, and so I get a pretty good idea of the market. I'm also in the middle of brokering a few boats, and so I get a really good idea of what's going on out there and what's happening in the market right now. A lot of boats out there for sale, and let's just back up for a second before we even start in the video, just so you guys know that when you guys are looking at one of these 40-year-old trawlers, whether it's to buy to liveaboard or to do America's Great Loop or whatever, just remember that if the boat is 40 years old, it's already needed to be having all of its hoses changed, because the rubber is good for about 20 years on the rubber components of the engine and inside your boat. So anything like exhaust, radiator hoses, all of that stuff. And so by the time you get the boat, and I'm going to use my vintage boat, which is a 1982. Every one of those lines should have been changed now twice. So if you get into one of these boats and say that it hasn't been done, it needs to be done. So and it should have been done twice, and it can get costly. But that's not what this video is about. It's about what the yearly maintenance is after we purchase, let's just say Southern Estate here. The 2 Grand Bankses that I was involved last year, both of them actually have about the same number of what it costs to maintain those throughout the year and get them up to par, if that makes sense. Both of them cost, I'm just going to use the price tag of about $80,000 on those 2 Grand Bankses. And both owners wanted the teak work done on the outside of the boats. And both owners spent quite a bit of money getting that teak work done, and it was in excess of, let's say, right around that $25,000 mark. So they both paid 80 grand. They put $25,000 into the teak work, and then now they still need to go inside the boat and do some projects inside there. I would say it's easy to say, and neither one of them would disagree with this number right here, that both of them maintaining their boat and getting them up to par, and neither one of the boats right now is 100%, but they're getting closer and closer. I was just on the Virginia Hawkeye about less than a couple weeks ago, actually about 3 weeks ago, when I went and picked my truck up, and man, this is looking beautiful inside there. Rich has done just an incredible job with that boat, and it's almost like sitting in some type of an experience zone. I was glad to see it. It's just a beautiful boat, just absolutely gorgeous. But again, he's in excess of sticking well over $60,000 into that boat right now. Just the toilets alone were over $10,000. I don't want to spoil next week's video, but toilets are important on a boat, and it's one of the things that we had to replace on Southern Estate here, and you really can't chimp out on your toilet. I did maintenance that this year, and I actually did have to stick some money in the toilet, because after using it consistently for a year now, there's a couple pieces that went bad in the toilet, so we did have to do it. So it'll be part of what we're talking about today. So anyway, in the video here, Southern Estate is a 1982 trawler. As most of you guys know, anybody that follows the channels for a long period of time know that we paid $25,000. By the time we got it out of the boatyard, it had been sitting on the hard for about 2 years. And by the time we got it out of the boatyard, we were in the boat for, well, I wrote Pete a check for $47,000. Now what it included, and by the time we got the boat from the owner, we were right at $27,500, because we gave him an extra $2,500, and that included our dinghy motor, which we use today, a bunch of all the tools, dive equipment, air compressor, all the tools that he left on the. We spent right at $27,500 for the boat, And then by the time Pete left the yard, the total bill, what I wrote him a check for, was $47,000. Now what we did for that was bottom paint. The boat, was sitting on the hard. Been sitting on the hard for 2 years, so why wouldn't we stick a fresh coat of bottom paint on there? Pete had to replace every single battery in the boat. There was none of the batteries were any good in the entire boat. And those batteries this last year have been replaced since then. The only original batteries left on the boat, even from when Pete replaced all those batteries, is the 12-volt battery for the windlass. And then I used two 6-volt batteries in series for the house batteries. That's the only 2 batteries remaining out of the 18 batteries that the boat once had, because I didn't like the way the boat was wired originally from the previous owner. And last year we switched and we put a new inverter in it. We put new batteries in it. And because I wanted to switch over to Light Pro 4, so that's maintenance that I didn't have to do about that on the boat, but it's just letting you know that that did happen. And but let's talk about what it actually cost to maintain the boat last year. So this boat right here, again, it's 40 years old. It's a 1982 Marine Trader Europa style. It's called a Mark IV actually, and it's 44 feet long. I did not do a bottom job, but I did do the zincs, and I do pay a diver every single month to dive the boat. Also the slip fees and insurance. Insurance is getting tougher and tougher and tougher. The prices are going up and up and up. They are not going down. And also the value of the boat. That's where you got to be very, very careful, because where the insurance companies will ding you is, if let's just say somebody bought this boat for $140,000, it's going to be hard to get insurance on it when it only bucks out at about $100,000. So to get the level up there to what you paid for the boat, it's going to be very, very difficult to convince an insurance company to pay you more than what they value the boat at, and that's what the buck value of any boat is. So anyway, the bottom jobs and just keeping the bottom maintained on the boat cost around $2,300 for last year, and that's replacing the zincs. That's paying the diver to go down there every week and inspect and stuff like that. And so that's just right off the top. Another thing we had to do last year is we lost our front air conditioner. And what happens is I could pay a so-called air conditioning mechanic to come out here and possibly put some fluid in to put some Freon inside the air conditioner. But even a $500, $700 call for an boat air conditioner guy, and you can't get the Freon for these things anymore. So it was better, it was a decision that we made to change out the air conditioner. And now that we've got here to Florida, our rear one's done. You can turn it on, it'll cycle off, but eventually it'll pop the breaker, and that's just because the head pressure is getting too high, and it actually needs Freon. If we could find somebody to put a dab of Freon in, we could get through the summer. But we didn't. We just bought another portable air conditioner, and we'll use that for this summer, because what we want to do is completely remodel the interior of the boat, of this dining room right here, or the salon area. We want to completely remodel that and change where we put the air conditioner and everything. And it's just not a project we want to deal with in the heat of the summer. We'd rather do that in the winter time. So we're holding off on that. But we did replace the one air conditioner. That cost $5,000. So the front one's done, and that was just buying the parts, and that's us doing all the labor. It's funny to me. It really is funny to me when somebody says, hey, I want to buy a 40-year-old trawler, but I'm not looking for a project boat. Well, I'll give you a clue right now. Every single boat you buy is a project boat, unless you're buying brand new, but even then, you're going to have projects to do on the boat. They're all projects. I can promise you that. It's just what you can tolerate and what you want to deal with. Again, they're all projects. They all need hoses. They all need air conditioners. They all need toilets. There is something on your 40-year-old trawler that needs to be replaced. Most people aren't selling their 40-year-old trawlers because they're in perfect conditions and they've maintained them properly over the years. It just doesn't work like that. Usually, a lot of the boats will show a lot of neglect as you guys go out there and start looking at these trawlers for purchase. And then you'll have to just pick the ones, you're going to have to get a surveyor and then just pick the one that has the least amount of projects on it, to be honest with you. And again, next week we'll talk about the 3 things that are just must-haves. You can try and save money on some areas, but these are areas that you can't try and save money on, and we'll talk about that next week. So I'm just going to throw the big number out there so that you guys know, because everybody asks, is it 10% of the purchase price of the boat, or what is the actual maintenance of a boat? It's not, though. It's even to maintain one of these old trawlers properly, and I'll just give you some examples of what we had to do on Southern Estate this year already. And one of them is, a starter on the starboard engine was $450. We had to rebuild the starter on the generator. That was $250. One of the alternators we had to rebuild, and this was all getting the boat ready to go to the Bahamas, but still it's maintenance that needs to be done on the boat. So that's just in my engine room. I repacked all of the seals, and all of this stuff, and these items calculate up to around $10,000. We've also replaced all of the batteries on the boat, like I've told you before. Another big project that I completed this year was new bilge pumps. It's something, one of my bilge pumps wasn't working properly, and so then I just went through and replaced them all. That was not cheap neither. I didn't think that the bilge pumps, they can get up there, especially for a bigger boat like this, like a 44-foot boat, and you have 3 of them. It got a little bit pricey, and I had to really be careful on that. I could have easily spent in excess of probably $1,500, but I got it done for less than $1,000, and that was just ordering my pumps online, not just going to the local store and then price shopping and stuff like that, because I had time. So my one main bilge pump was about $300, and then the other, I put another little bit smaller pump on it, was about $200, and then the front one is just a small little pump. And I also carry a spare on the boat at all times, just in case, just for backup and emergency use if I needed it. But that being said, it's just routine maintenance. The total price and the total number that I would say that, and I don't care what you paid for the boat. I don't care if you paid $30,000 or $100,000 or $125,000 or $200,000. I would say the proper maintenance for one of these, especially these older trawlers, and this is not getting the boat up to snuff. This is just yearly routine maintenance, is probably somewhere right around $25,000. And that doesn't count your slip rent or insurance. That's just routine maintenance. That's keeping your engine room in perfect operating condition. It's keeping your ACs up and running. Especially if you got older ACs, you're gonna have to find the guy, pay the guy. I just replaced my ACs. I just put brand new ACs in so that I don't have to mess with them. And the AC unit on one of these boats are good for about 10 to 15 years. So if you're buying one or an older boat or something like that, and your ACs are, let's say, over 15 years old, there's a good shot that there's not worth really spending any money on. And there's a big difference between living aboard and just being a weekend warrior. If you're just a weekend warrior, those old air conditioners may hold up for a little while longer, and you may not have any issues with them for years to come. But when you're on one of these trawlers, when you're living aboard one of these trawlers, your AC is a very important piece of the puzzle, especially living down here like in Florida or the Gulf Coast or anywhere where there's heat, even in the cold, because I buy heat pumps so that they can go heat and air conditioning. It's important to have nice units on board and in working order. And so, you may as well, another problem with the older units is they're just so power hungry that, it takes a lot of power and a lot of energy to run one of those old air conditioners. And that's one of the big problems with Southern Estate here, is that she did have those old air conditioners, and when I did run them, man, I had to be plugged into 100 amps of service just to get all the air conditioners fired up and get the boat fired up on AC. Now that we've switched to the new air conditioner, especially on the front over there, I can plug this boat into a 30 amp service and pretty much run everything on the boat. I may have to pick and choose, you can only run one big appliance at a time, but I can run the boat on a 30 amp service. So that's why we run it on the little generator. We just have to switch what component, like we have to shut the air conditioner off if I want to run the toaster oven, let's say, or the microwave. And you just got to do that for a few minutes while those appliances are running, because you can't run 2 big appliances, is the only thing. But now, once I do put the new salon air conditioner in, which will be this year, it will, then I can run the entire boat on one 50 amp cord. I can rewire the boat actually and slim it way down, because the power consumption will be cut in half. It'll literally be cut in half, and I can get it down to about a 50 amp. So anyway, it's just, you know, I'm sure it's something you don't want to hear. I mean, these guys bought these, both of them bought their 36 gram banks, as like I said in the beginning of the video. Both of them have in excess of well over $50,000 out of their pockets right now, just maintaining them, getting them up to snuff, and that's just teak work and toilets, and still neither one of them have put any electronics or anything. And just same thing here with Southern Estate. I've still, today, right now, if I was to sell this boat, or let's just say I was ready to get it ready for another extended cruise, right now this boat needs a bottom job. And that bottom job, we're just going to throw a nice round number. You know, by the time you have it pulled out and put on the hard, you know, that's $450, let's say $500, and then about another $2,500 to get the bottom painted. And I'm just going to throw this number out at it, but it needs about a $5,000 bottom job right now today. Also needs electronics. All my electronics except my autopilot. My autopilot's brand new, but my radar's on the blip, and it has GPS, but it's very small and outdated. So right now, Southern Estate, in the shape that she is in right now, I could easily today, stick $30,000 in this boat like it was nothing, just absolutely nothing. Thank God my engines run good, my generator runs good, and I have a good running mechanical boat, and all those lines and filters, coolers and all that stuff, they've all been changed out, and I just keep the hours on those, and I keep them directly on each component. That way, if somebody was to ever buy this boat or take it over, they know exactly the hours on them. And you usually go on your coolers, especially you guys that want to buy, like, this is a perfect example of even buying a newer boat. Like Jim bought the Jolly Green, which is a 3900 Mainship 2004, has fairly new electronics on it. But even this year, he's had to put a brand new air conditioner in, one new air conditioner. And that boat, again, it's 20 years old. So he's right at the edge of where that boat is at. So he's put one air conditioner in it. He did his 1,000-hour service on his motor. And anybody that doesn't know what that 1,000-hour service is, that's where they pull the valve covers off, and then they pull off, like his engine is a turbocharged Yanmar. And they'll pull off the aftercoolers, inspect them, replace them, clean them, do whatever they need to do. And you lose a lot of power if that's not done and that routine maintenance isn't done correctly. Just that alone can cost in excess of $5,000 per engine. So you guys that are running or looking at these boats with turbocharged motors, just got to be careful with that and understand what you're getting into, because it's easily, you know, one of the first things I ever do when I ask about for a client or for anybody is, hey, when was the last time 1,000 hour was done with this? When was the last time the aftercoolers were looked at? Because if it hasn't been done in a while, and it's all about the engine hours on the engine, and each engine manufacturer is a little bit different, you know, but right around that 1,000 hours to, let's say, 1,200, 1,500 hours, stuff needs to be done to help that turbocharger work efficiently. And if it's not done, it needs to be done. And just that for one engine, it can cost right around $5,000, and that's paying a mechanic. And the aftercooler, I know in the Cummins was about $3,000 for a reman aftercooler for one of those. But you can also take them off and have them cleaned, and sometimes that's about $1,500. Jim just had his done on the Yanmar, and it was about $2,500 to have the 1,000-hour service done on his Yanmar. So it's an important question when you guys are looking at boats. Hey, when was the last time the 1,000-hour was done? If it hasn't been done, then you can pretty much guarantee that, you know, that the boat may not have been maintained 100% properly, and that, you know, it's just the cost of owning a boat. A lot of people will value money over, you know, their life. And I say this, you know, in some of my videos, and it's not me. I mean, if you're going to buy one of these 40-year-old trawlers and you're worried about how much money you're going to lose, or how much it's going to cost you, then maybe, and I'm just saying, I'm not going to be negative here, but I'm just saying that maybe you should consider a different, option like hiking or backpacking or something like that. Because when you throw anything into salt water, the salt water just eats it up, and it does cost a lot of money to maintain it throughout the year and throughout its life, especially if the boat is 40 years old now. And some of them, just about every boat I've ever been on, there's some neglect somewhere, and it needs work somewhere. I've never walked on a boat that was perfectly maintained, because it does cost a lot of money. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you watch next week's video. We're going to talk about the 3 things that are really important if you want to try and live aboard one of these older trawlers, even the newer boat. And these are just 3 very important items that I found that you probably should not try and save money on. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you guys are watching those shorts that I put out every week. The job at Little Palm is going incredible. I love driving the boats. There's not just one boat, it's 3 boats. And it's just been an incredible opportunity, an incredible experience. Also going to do a solar project. I'm going to get involved a little bit with one of my good channel follower, Hector. We're going to go out and look at his sailboat this coming week and start on maybe a solar project on that boat. So watch that in coming up videos. I'm going to start doing a lot of that stuff in Patreon and keep it into the Patreon side of the channel. Anyway, peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and I thank you so much. Bye.